Weekend, the German Grand Prix, and it is a big one in terms of storylines. For us in the media, then there are two possibilities this weekend. Marc Marquez continues his domination around the Sachsenring. He takes his first Grand Prix victory in just under 600 days, and we have ourselves a huge story. Or Marc Marquez doesn't win at the place where he's been so dominant over the past decade, and once again we have ourselves a story. There's going to be plenty of intrigue here as we try and see at just what level the 8-time world champion is at, coming to his most dominant, most successful circuit in his Grand Prix career. But Simon, there's only one place to start, with the man arguably looking to take the fight to him this weekend, and if he's able to put together a performance like we saw last weekend in Mugello, then he's going to be a tough man to beat. Pecco, showcasing to us all exactly why he's the world champion. The sprint was a little bit more challenging with the rain in the opening couple of laps, testing him and forcing him to just take his time to find the limit before eventually pulling clear. But the Grand Prix on Sunday was an exceptional ride. Never looked out of control, as Jorge Martin was just detailing there in our unseen video. Every time Jorge just closed in to within half a second, off he went again. It was a superlative ride.
Yeah, which pretty much says he had a little bit left in his pocket, didn't he? You know, a little bit in reserve. And I got to say, I was impressed with how he managed the whole weekend. And it's not the first time he's done that. Pole position, sprint, and like you said, the sprint was tricky with the raindrops, and I pretty much think it was the only reason it was closer. Otherwise, if it stayed dry, he would have run away with that one. Coming here, a lot of people think Marc's gonna, run away with both even, because he is so amazing. But Pecco is on form, he really is, and what he was doing at Mugello, again, I saw riders have pointed out, in the past, but how good he is on entry and corner speed, especially the last part of entry on the brakes. He's so confident in there. I know he's crashed twice on the front, recently, but what he does and does things on a little bit higher level than his opposition in that area and gets away with it. It's like he's in control. It's quite awesome. He's got the machine. I think the machine's turning even better this year. They've improved it. It's more agile. He hopefully, I think, will take it to Marc. Whatever happens, it's going to be closer, because to me, it's not. Honda haven't made forward steps, and everyone else has, meaning especially the Italians and KTM have. So I'm hoping for a closer race than in the past.
All of those traits that you describe as Pecco having just a little step on everyone else this weekend sound like that they're going to fit quite perfectly to the unique characteristics of the Sachsenring.
Yep, because you're right, it is. Believe it or not, I remember really clearly, because I only raced here once, coming here, and it was very difficult. It was so different than the other tracks that I didn't really figure it out until the race, and put the hammer down in the area where I made the time up and could run competitively. I did that, crashed out of second to do, and it was about the front, and he is so good in that area. Naturally, that's what he does. So I think he also would have learned from his mistakes last year. To put it simply and short, I think he got outsmarted by Fabio, choosing the tyre that was soft on the right and just going so hard on the right. Pecco tried to do the same, I think, and his different tyre didn't cope with it. He got outsmarted, where I don't think he will this year. It's a year later. He's on form, like I said. He's got the right machine, and he's got the tools to work on those long corners that in Sachsenring.
Of course, this time last year was the start of the greatest comeback in MotoGP history. At this point, when he was sat in the box with Fabio going on to take victory, I think it was 91, 93 points at that moment. Nobody would have expected him to win the championship.
It felt like it had gone.
Yeah, it felt like the moment that the championship was going to swing on. However, he did come back and fight back. But with it being such a crucial moment, and I'm sure a moment that still he has lingering in the back of his mind, walking into the circuit this morning, will that at all come into his thinking this weekend, especially given the way that the season is going to run, with this weekend and next weekend at Assen and a long summer break? Now that he's got a little bit more breathing space, shall we say, at the front of the championship, given the mistake he made last year? Will that come into his thinking at all?
I think he would have learnt from that mistake. Yes, championship will come into his mind, but the thing is, in general, you push to where you think is the limit, and I think that his limit has moved up, from 12 months ago. That's what I think, and he will cope. I really think he'll do it well here. The cat amongst the pigeons could change everything as weather-wise. We see a couple of possibilities for rain, and then anything can happen.
As is always the case.
Yeah, if it stays dry, I really think he's in control. Yeah, Marc might do something really special, but Marc's not threatening for the championship. I think if that happens, then Pecco will bring it back, riding at what he feels is his limit, bring it home and get that 20 if it's 20, but I think he'll do a good job.
We have seen an isolated shower already today. It wasn't in the forecast, but it sprung up on us and got a couple of us wet, me included. Again, the forecast isn't indicating too many showers over the course of the weekend, but we may well see what we've seen today. So I think there's a few umbrellas and a few cagoules just waiting in the back of the box, just in case.
Here's me saying that he's going to do a great job, and I said Maverick is on his way back this time last week. But I still stand by that. I still think Maverick's coming back. So
we'll come to that. We'll touch on Maverick Viñales.
All I'm saying is I'm quite likely to be wrong.
Well, it's MotoGP. Our prediction power is normally pretty useless. Right, moving on to the man that we think is going to be taking the fight to Pecco Bagnaia, or will it be the other way around? Will it be Pecco taking the fight to him? We can't talk about the Saxon ring and not touch on Marc Marquez. I put it to him earlier today. Is this the first time in almost a decade that he's come to the Saxon ring and not been the pre-race favourite? What do you think, Simon? Is he the favourite?
Oh, I mean, he can't not be because of his record here. Even with his dodgy arm before he got it fixed.
Half an arm.
Yeah, he had literally, so he had 1.5 arms. He managed to win here. So, it's left-handers. He's so good at them. Marc, at somewhere like Le Mans, he came out fighting when he'd been 2 months off the bike. So, now he's up to, race speed and race fitness, and he's coming to his most successful track. He is aiming to win here, isn't he?
For sure. It's 11 victories now. He's undefeated at the Saxon Ring in his Grand Prix career. But the Honda is arguably in the worst position it's been throughout that time.
That's what I am hoping will make the race closer, because Marc's going to do something special. But, like I said, the bike hasn't moved on,
Yeah.
I don't think it's made a step forward. Yeah, it's a little bit faster than it was, but it's, like Yamaha, there's a little bit faster as well, but it's not really adding up to the results. They haven't got, don't think they've got the electronics, the aero, and the power delivery character of the opposition. So I think it's going to be tough. Meaning everyone's moved closer, and hopefully, sorry to keep repeating, that we see that and we have a closer race.
How much of a challenge is it going to be for Honda full stop this weekend? Because, of course, there's no Alex Rins continuing to recover now in Madrid, a result of that leg break in the sprint race. No Joan Mir recovering from a pinky finger injury, nastier than it sounds, in practice on Friday. Meaning there's only 2 Honda bikes out there. Is that at all going to be another impediment for Marc?
I don't think so. I think Alex Rins, and when Joan was in full, when his confidence was up before it got kind of broken recently, Marc did learn from their data, meaning he got ideas where, if these guys can do it, how they're doing it, and he made progress. But we're talking about a track that Marc is astonishingly good at, and so to do something better around here anywhere than him would be hard. So I think Marc's quite happy leading the way here. I really do. It's not like, for example, Texas. Marc's going to learn off Alex Rins. This is what Alex Rins Texas is to him. This is the same to Marc.
And just to give a bit of clarification of just how much of a crisis Honda are in at the moment in this very motorhome here. Prior to the Italian Grand Prix, media reports saying that Marc Marquez had a meeting, himself and his manager, with the man third in command at Honda. Honda full stop, not just Honda Racing Company, Ayama-san, with Watanabe-san, who's the HRC president, also there. Just the four of them, a 20 to 25 minute meeting to detail just where Honda are at the moment. They are in as much of a crisis, I think, arguably in Grand Prix history, maybe, for Honda. Has it ever been this bad in our living memory?
It's what I was going to say, not in my living memory, since I've been watching Grand Prix, have they been in this much trouble. They've had a difficult handling bike, like in the Gardner era and a little bit prior, pre-doing, the bike was fast but didn't handle, but their great riders fought around that. But these days you need the rider aids to work, otherwise it's pretty much impossible now with them to make up for the deficit, and that's what Marc's finding now. Let's see if he can make up the deficit here in Sachsenring, but until now he can't,
And that's why he responded to that crash in Mugello like he did.
Yeah, I think that what we saw is Marc finally losing patience, and you got to say he's done a pretty good job of being a pro, working hard, even testing things during race weekends, which is no fun. You need to test and prove that it's all right, because you have no time for testing now. Like practice one, you have to try to get into Q2, so there is no time to waste on testing, and Marc hasn't mind to do that because he's looking at the end goal. But it really feels to me that Marc's made it obvious he's losing his patience. I think he's been requesting something to improve something. I still believe there's something in the engine. That's my, like they've got the inertia wrong, like with the size of the crank weight, something in there, because they can't seem to fix it, and you're not allowed to change the engine. So it's what points to me, apart from aero, because they are behind aero-wise, and then there's electronics the Italians are so good at. But Marc's obviously getting fed up that they're not making forward progress when he's ready to win.
Absolutely. As we say, it's going to be a fascinating story either way this weekend. One to keep your eye on. Marc Marquez, will it be his winning return at long last, or will Honda's woes continue? We'll have to wait and see on that one. But in terms of the championship, we've mentioned Pecco Bagnaia in a fairly comfortable position at the top of those standings at the moment, with the two men breathing down his neck are arguably the two young guns in the Ducati roster. Marco Bezzecchi didn't have a weekend to remember too much at his home Grand Prix. A podium, yes, in the sprint, but he was only able to come across the line in 8th in the main Grand Prix. But the main man is Jorge Martin. After his podium in the French Grand Prix, a sprint victory there, then yet more success in Italy as well. For so long, myself and you, Simon, have been stood here saying, we know he has the pace, we know he has the talent, given what he's able to do in qualifying on such a regular basis. Are we now finally seeing him piece together the talent that he's got on a more consistent, regular basis? We are, and I've been waiting for it, because I really have believed in Jorge for a long time, that he's the full package, and that he can do impressive races. Now he's showed us that he can manage using the soft tyre, like I said after the flag last week. This man, while he's on screen, Bez, I believe he was going to fight for another podium, and he had a technical, let's call it a technical issue on the front of his bike that I believe stopped him getting the result that he could have. I think he would have fought with Jorge, maybe beaten Jorge, maybe just beaten Zarco, somewhere in there, but probably being on the podium, yeah. And that would have been a perfect weekend for him, championship-wise. But that's the luck of the draw. Sometimes you end up with something technically that holds you back. About Jorge, I'm really pleased with him. He's in the condition of his life. And he doesn't live far from me. I see him on his bicycle, the rides he's doing. He's more chiseled face. He is, I asked him, I said, you look in the best condition of your life. And he went, I am. He said he's just trying. And what it does is, for a rider, if you feel like you get on the grid and you deserve it, you've worked harder than anyone else, it gives you an extra little confidence. It really does. Doohan taught me that was the way to do it. We were training partners. He did that. I did the same.
Jorge's doing the same. I think it's all part of his where he is mentally. He wants to do the job, and recently he has.
Yeah, he seems as focused as ever. I asked him following the Italian Grand Prix, what's different about the Jorge Martin of 2022 to 2023? And he said, the Jorge Martin is no different. I'm exactly the same. But he said that the biggest thing is I've actually got a package underneath me now that is allowing me to go out there and perform on a more consistent, regular basis. I guess he doesn't want to take the plaudits himself, because I, like you, can see that there's maybe that little bit more focus there. There's certainly a lot more fitness and power to him now, which is allowing him to be so dynamic in the sprint races. But I guess the big question is,
can he keep it going?
Exactly.
Well, we're about to find out. I believe he can, but like it happens, you get to some tracks and make a mistake, but I hope he doesn't. I hope he can keep it together. Just like I hope the man you're going to bring up soon, Maverick, can deliver. But I think Jorge can keep doing it. And actually, Jorge is a danger for the championship, obviously, if he can. He really is. But like I said, Bez is as well. And I don't think it was Bez that didn't get on the podium. I think it was technical that stopped him. So those two are big dangers.
They certainly are. Right, you want to talk Maverick Viñales. I'm going to give you the opportunity because we spoke ahead of the Italian Grand Prix. For you, the big talking point coming away from Le Mans was the fire, the hunger that Maverick illustrated throughout Le Mans. But was it there in Italy, or was it not there, and were other issues forcing him to finish further down the field?
I didn't see it. I didn't see the same, for whatever reason, I have to be fair. I mean, I listened to the debriefs. I didn't catch Sundays because it came through in Italian, so I didn't understand that. So, we're seeing the man on screen fight through. I mean, he beat his teammate with broken bones in his foot.
Yeah. MRI scan on Monday revealed 2 bones in his heel.
That's the hunger you want to see as a team manager, And Aleix, it was his own fault that he had the injury, but with the injury, how hard he fought was admirable, giving Jack a hard time here. And, getting back to Maverick, he had a very good ride here until his ride height device disengaged, so dropped and he couldn't turn, remember? And he was on target to beat Aleix for the first time ever. And let's hope that this Maverick, that the new one, I think, is hopefully going to turn up this weekend. In the next races, their tracks, I think, suit Maverick. And, I hope he can prove me right, but purely for his own sake, not mine.
For sure. We saw Aleix there battling with the KTMs. He was sandwiched in between those of Brad Binder and Jack Miller. We've heard from Brad on the podcast talking about his mentality that we touched on as well, which is what we love about him. This new KTM that has really sprung to everyone's surprise and attention, especially in Jerez, where they had a dynamic weekend. Mm-hmm. The Saxon Ring. Is this a place that is going to suit it, or do we have to just wait and see?
If you go over history, results of KTMs here, the one from Miguel Oliveira.
In 21.
Oh, I mean, he pushed Marc all the way, matched him. But I think that was Miguel, doing some Miguel magic on the day. I don't believe, like I said earlier, that the KTM quite has the turning sorted like the opposition, and I think it's going to show up here again as well as it did in Mugello, because these corners are long. You ride this track and you feel like you're permanently on the edge. The riders even get tired hanging off because they're leaning for so long, and I think that's one of the areas KTM are one step behind, like I said, the opposition, and I think it'll show up. So if the bike doesn't turn enough, you end up trying to accelerate with still lean angle. If it turns well, you can get the turn up, get it up and drive. But if it doesn't turn, you can't get it up, then you try to drive and it spins. So looks like you're losing on rear grip, but it's turning. And here it's crucial.
In terms of KTM, one of the big talking points outside of what we're going to see this weekend is the future of Pedro Acosta. Given a couple of chats in Mugello, we understand that the scenario as it stands is that KTM have up until the end of the month, the 30th of June, to come to Pedro with a MotoGP proposal. If they don't, then he's available to explore other options with other manufacturers within MotoGP. Quite simply, Simon, with Jack Miller, Brad Binder, Paul Espargaro all having signed 2-year deals at the start of this one, it looks as though KTM's choice is between this man, the man trying to win the Moto2 World Championship this year, and Augusto Fernandez, who won the Moto2 World Championship last year. Pit Byra described it as a luxury problem. It's certainly a luxury to have those two riders, but at the same time, it's definitely a problem. I mean, what on earth do they do?
Well, the thing is, KTM have made it pretty obvious that they want Pedro to stay. They're not going to let Pedro go because for two reasons. They want him; he's great. Every manufacturer wants him, but you also don't want him going somewhere else and competing against you. So they're not going to let him go. They're going to use that option. The thing is where to put him. If he can agree to stay in Moto2, everything's sorted. They can be fair to Augusto, give him another shot. But if he won't, maybe they're forced to push Augusto out, which is not really fair. He's doing a great job. Let's see what happens. But the thing is, the golden ticket I think KTM have is that their bike is good and Pedro will want to ride it. So I think, if it wasn't, Pedro would be already out of there. But the bike's good. He'll want to ride it.
That's all to come over the coming weeks. I was going to say months then, but it won't over the coming month because we know we're going to get a decision by the 30th of June. Right, let's head to our first press conference of the weekend then. Marc Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia, Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi all previewing this German Grand Prix, as ever, hosted by our very own Matt Burt.